Happy Sabbath Truth. Today we will send a Sabbath letter to country and to the hustler nation, which we created. Fellow countrymen, things are not as bad as we think they are. Or are they? Is the insecurity in the country genuine, or is it sabotage? What about the Eldoret riots of Thursday this week? Were they spontaneous, or were they engineered? Does President Ruto have enemies who want him to fail? Or is this a question without legs? Fellow countrymen, you have a disease called acidic pessimism. The glass is always half empty in your eyes. And this is what you told Uhuru Kenyatta after he grew our economy from 4 trillion shillings to 13 trillion shillings. You told him the glass is half empty. And now, you have begun the same pessimism with William Ruto even before he starts. You are telling him that he does not even have a glass to fill, that the man has no plan. If you called Uhuru Kenyatta Jaden or Rich Boy, now you have started calling William Ruto Nabi, mocking his faith and that of his wife. For you to stand tall, the president must be down on his knees through ridicule and bullying. And we experienced this at the Fort Hall School of Government, as we defended Uhuru Kenyatta against the bullies. This is why, although we did not support William Ruto, we will defend the sanctity of the office he occupies. We will speak truth to his actions, but call out the bullies.
Apart from acidic pessimism, Kenyans drink too much, and this makes them very clever. That is why their wit overruns that of the president's men. We experienced this firsthand at the Fort Hall School of Government as we defended Uhuru Kenyatta. Let me explain the cleverness of Kenyans. They are like a herd of buffaloes. Buffaloes can only move as fast as the slowest buffalo. And when attacked by hunters, it is the slowest and the weakest buffaloes at the back that are killed first. This law of natural selection is good for the buffaloes as a whole. And this is because the general speed and health of the herd keeps improving because of the regular killing of the weak and slowest members. In much the same way, the human brain operates as fast as the slowest brain cells. The slow brain cells limit the speed of the brain. Now, brain scientists have told us that alcohol kills the brain cells, but naturally, it attacks the slowest and weakest brain cells first. In this way, a regular consumption of beer eliminates the weak and slow brain cells, making the brain a faster and more effective machine. And that is why you always feel better after a few beers. Fellow countrymen, drinking makes you clever, if this theory of intelligence is right. However, use your cleverness to construct a country and not to brood in acidic pessimism against Ruto. But in the meantime, although President Ruto is clever, we recommend a beer day for him and wife. He will be surprised.
Do not get us wrong on this theory of intelligence and the brain. It is also called neuroplasticity, or the expansion and growth of the brain. Other scientists tell us that in the hypocenter of the brain, we generate new cells every day. They call it neurogenesis. And these cells are generated depending on what we eat and drink. This is why we invite President Ruto to take an occasional beer instead of Karicho tea. It is more effective. But his pastor doesn't have to know. Back to the acidic pessimists on the case of Ruto. Allow me to give you a story. It demonstrates that things are not as bad as we think they are. One day, a wealthy father took his son on a trip to show him how poor people live. He took him to the heart of the hustler nation. They spent a couple of days and nights visiting the poor,
They used pit latrines, wiped their bum using newspapers, and showered through correspondence. This is the kind of shower you take from an exhausted bucket, throwing water at yourself. And then they were told that to shower with hot water was 10 bob, and cold water was 5 bob. In the meantime, every morning they lined up to get a drop of toothpaste squeezed on their toothbrushes. It was 5 bob. Then they noticed that hustlers only use toothpaste on Sundays. Once the father was satisfied that the young boy had understood poverty, they departed for the leafy suburbs. On the way back, he asked the son, "So, what did you learn from the trip?" The son paused for a moment and answered, "I saw that we have one dog, but they have 4. We have imported lights in our gardens, but they have the stars to light the night. Our veranda only reaches the front yard, but they have the whole horizon to themselves. We have servants to serve us, but they serve others. We buy our food, but they grow their food. We have electric walls and a fence around us, but they have friends to protect them." With this, the boy's dad was speechless. Then the boy added, "Thanks, Dad, for showing me how poor we are." Dear Hustler Nation, things are not as bad as they seem. It is all about perspective.
Fellow countrymen, stories are always remembered by their ending. A good story has a happy ending. And in this story, the ending was an eye-opener for the surprised dad. He thought that he was rich, but his son showed him how poor he was. But what does this tell Kenyans about their self-hate? What does it tell us about bullying a president the way they bullied Uhuru and now Ruto? Jack Ma taught us that what you focus on expands. If you focus on negative energy and pessimism against Ruto the way you did on Uhuru, you will attract and expand the same energy to yourself. And this is because energy flows where attention goes. If our attention goes to the half-empty glass, energy will flow to the emptiness of the glass and expand it. And this is what the children of Israel did after their liberation. In fact, they told Moses that they wanted to go back to Egypt as slaves. They were drunk on pessimism, served on a half-empty glass that expanded. What is our point here? We may not agree with Ruto or believe that he is being sabotaged, but we must respect the office that he occupies. And for the restless Hustler Nation, we want to tell them this: you are not your condition. If you are poor, the rich boys think that they are poor also. You cannot hate yourself without convincing yourself with lies. The Sabbath truth is this: you do not attract what you want. You attract what you are. If positive, you will attract good things. If negative, you will expand your pessimistic, half-empty glass.
One day in the 1960s, there was a new government in Nigeria through a coup. Then an educated general was appointed Minister for Education to de-educate illiterate Nigerians and their horrible music. Like Moses Kuria, this educated general had energy and the gift of running his mouth. One sunny morning, he decided to visit a secondary school to do benchmarking. When he arrived at the school, he pointed at a random student of literature and asked him this: "You, who wrote Macbeth?" The trembling student said he did not know. Disappointed, the general turned to another random student and asked him, "You, who wrote Macbeth?" The terrified student said he did not know either, but he assured the general that he did not write Macbeth. The general left the school angry and disappointed by the illiterate Nigerians. The next morning, the general received some good news. He was told that after torturing a few suspects, one of them confessed to writing Macbeth, and he was executed immediately. To this shocking news, the general screamed in total disbelief. The answer he wanted was simple. Macbeth was a play written by William Shakespeare, and he wanted to test the skills of the literature students. Good people, here is the Sabbath truth. The devil rules in areas where ignorance prevails. New governments will make mistakes and even have their zealous officers execute suspects for writing Macbeth. That is why we must give William Ruto a chance. However, we must have notice that it is okay to be wrong, but it's not okay to stay wrong.